This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
America's falling, they all say. Gather the faithful now and pray. The Patriots Prayer. The Patriots Prayer. All the wicks are trimmed, oil is filled to the brim. I have a chance somehow. I'm the radical now. America's falling, they all say. Gather the faithful now and pray. The Patriots pray.
What's going on, Patriots? Back with another one for you. So this guy right here, this is the first time that we're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing it every week, though. Every single week right here, we're going to be talking about all those conspiracy theories that we all talk about when we've had a few too many, sitting around the bar, sitting on the back porch, that sort of thing. And I just want to give a disclaimer up front. These are conspiracy theories, people. So, get off of your PC soapbox if you're coming in here to try to fact check everybody and blah, blah, blah. We're having fun, and we're going to say what we think and think what we say, and that's what's going to happen. So have fun with it. Chime in. If you guys know about what we're talking about, we're going to be interacting with you. So if you know what we know and more, let's find out. And tonight I have with me for the first time ever on the podcast together, Eric Simkin and Damon Galdo from Political Badass guys, and welcome to the show. And Seth Eisenberg as well. Seth just got done his live. He kicked ass too. I saw the numbers, even in Rumble. McGroin Nation, really did you a big favor. Did you know earlier tonight when Bongino went live, he shouted out Anita from McGroin Nation and the whole crew over there. So to have them, be supporting us in what we do, showing up to our lives. And man, I want to say thank you a lot to those guys. We're going to have Anita on here sooner or later. We're trying to line that up for next week, but we'll see what happens. With that, guys, tonight we're mainly going to be talking about 9/11. 9/11. So 9/11 with a big focus point on bin Laden himself in the World Trade Center 7. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look real quick. I got several videos about all of this, but let's just take a look at what they tell us happened, what they actually said happened during 9/11 on to World Trade Center 7. Right? Let's take a listen.
Here's some basic facts. World Trade Center 7, which was located in downtown New York City, is sometimes called the Solomon Brothers Building, but is most commonly referred to as Building 7. With construction beginning in 1984, it benefited from many modern advancements in building technology. It was a 47-story, steel-framed, fireproof skyscraper standing 550 feet tall. It was 300 feet from the nearest tower, the North Tower, or about a football field away. Even though it was one of the largest buildings in Manhattan, it looked small next to the Twin Towers. In September of 2001, Building 7 would have been the tallest building in 33 states. It collapsed at 5:20 p.m. the afternoon of September 11th. Even though Building 7 was not hit by an airplane, the official explanation for all three buildings that collapsed was that intense fires weakened the steel, resulting in total symmetrical building failure. The official story goes on to state that in Building 7, column 79 gave out first, starting a progressive failure of the remaining columns, which allowed the building to fall almost as fast as a bowling ball would into its own footprint. If a building that size accidentally collapsed on any other day, it would have been as famous as the Titanic sinking. Yet according to a 2006 Zogby poll, 43% of Americans never even heard of Building 7.
So that's Building 7, guys. Let me get this off the stage. So the reality of what took place that day, from my understanding, there was nothing that it didn't get hit by a plane, and none of that. Bob Hess, who went to the building after 9/11 happened, because that was their emergency bunker. Rudy Giuliani was supposed to be there. All of the heads of New York legislature, they're all supposed to congregate there on a specific floor. And that's where their control center was for the entire city of New York. Bob Hess enters the building. No one is there. And as he's going up the stairs, because the elevators wouldn't work, he gets top. He's looking for everybody. No one's there. He's coming back down. In his own words, and I tried to find all of this prior to us coming on, but believe me, if you go take a look, check me on all this stuff here. You can check me on this stuff. And what you'll find is, as he was leaving the building and coming down the stairs, he said explosions were occurring beneath him that blew him back up the stairs the other way. Now, when all this happened, he gets outside. Larry Silverstein, who was the guy who owned the World Trade Center complex, and just a tidbit of information here: Marvin Bush, President Bush's brother, was the guy who was in charge of the World Trade Center complex, of all the security, as well as Dulles Airport. The first day he did not have to come to work was September the 11th. And that you can get out of Barbara Bush's own memoirs, where she wrote, thank God his contract expired with the state of New York and Dulles Airport on the day that it happened. So very funny, kind of turn of events took place that day, to where he wasn't in harm's way, and nor was he anymore under contract from either of those places. But Larry Silverstein comes on immediately. He did a PBS interview about a week later. And what he said happened was that they got out all the firefighters out of the building and they pulled it. Now, I know, Damon, I remember getting a call from. You work in the contracting field as well as me. In Nevada, in Las Vegas, we pull buildings all the time. It is a demolition term. So when I say I want to pull a building, I mean demolish a building. That is the technical term, their little slang term or whatever. Am I wrong in that? I mean, I don't know how many buildings get imploded in New Jersey, so you're the authority there. Can't hear you.
There we go. Here we go. So yeah, I'm absolutely right. I never actually imploded the building, knocked it down with machinery and stuff like that, and took it apart piece by piece.
Wrecking ball,
yeah, wrecking ball or a grappler or anything like that. But I mean, Eric was actually there 9/11 and saw it happen. So he's looking up some pictures right now that he has, because he was there when it happened. But I would assume, any explosions from underneath would be, a gas line that, once it gets hit and to get, to catch it on fire, and the gas line from underneath blows up. You have like, but
it didn't blow up from underneath though. It didn't blow up from underneath.
I don't know. I didn't see it. I was in Philadelphia when it happened. I was in Center City, Philly.
Here, let me play you.
And
let me play the video.
I was a young kid
of what happened.
And then we just had to, evacuate from Philadelphia because they thought that they were going to hit Philly, the skyscrapers there. So, but all I saw was on the news, and things I saw online too as well.
Here, I'm going to play the video of what happened.
So check this out, guys. You're not going to believe this, right? I'm like Forrest Gump. I've been like in some weird places at the wrong or right time.
Can you guys hear me?
It is. So back in, I guess,
there's something
very
wrong
early
over there.
September 2001, I was in the cell phone business, believe it or not, 2 lifetimes ago. And I built this 34-foot Winnebago by using a bunch of money from VoiceStream, which is now T-Mobile. They were giving us funding to open up stores, and I came up with this great idea. Let's wrap this vehicle with graphics, send it to the neighborhoods, and start selling phones from it. And we did. And this is 2001, so it was a little bit ahead of my time. But bottom line is then September 11th happens. VoiceStream calls me up the next morning on September 12th and said, we need you to take that bus and I need you to park it at ground zero. We've been called by the city of New York. We're the only carrier that works. Every other fiber, every other piece of phone line in Battery Park is done, and they're going to have to resplice it. Until then, there's no cell phones, but we got them. Pack it up with phones and bring them up there to ground zero. I went up there and met personally with Rudy Giuliani on the OEM bus, and I had all access. I was there from September 12th and a half for 3.5 weeks right there at ground zero in front of the federal building. And I just sent you a picture actually of building 7 collapsed. And, and I do know enough about why, just because of me being there and seeing what happened. It was really insane.
Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me? No, they can't hear me. So I'm going to play this video.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull. And then we watched the building collapse.
So he said it right there. And as you see it, the building has the quintessential crimp. The building crimps and then it goes down. And then in his own language, you can hear him say, we said pull the building and then we watched the building come down. And the building didn't fall due to a pancake collapse. It was a free fall. And the free fall speed of the building is the most telling. And not only that, the thermite that was found in the air when they tested the air afterwards was littered with residue from thermite. And thermite is how we actually implode buildings. What we do is we go in and we paint thermite on the columns and we paint it at a 90-degree angle all the way up a building. And then when the building falls, it consistently slides inward to fall into its own footprint. The crazy part about that day is that PBS aired had a whole segment on the Solomon Brothers building falling. Meanwhile, if you take a look in the background, they are reporting that the building fell before it fell.
On the latest building.
So right here, I'm going to play it for you, and you'll see the reporter saying, and the Solomon Brothers building fell. But if you look over her shoulder, you'll see the Solomon Brothers building. It hadn't fallen yet. And then all of a sudden they lose connection and it goes grainy because assuming that somebody somewhere said, hey, you did it too soon. We didn't implode the building yet. But here it is.
Collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. It seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the...
Now, look at the video as they close in on her when they zoom in, and you'll see the building standing behind her. The same building he said collapsed.
Salomon Brothers building and its collapse.
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. As you can see behind me, the trade center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New York is still unable to take on board what has happened to them today.
So what happened right after she got done saying that part, and I thought that was the full video, was the video pixelates. And he goes, oh, I think we lost her. But the building, she said, disappeared, which housed the financial, it was standing right there for everyone to see. So there's definitely somebody was misinformed. And how in the hell you say a building fell that's standing right behind you that falls less than probably about 20 minutes after she gets done saying that.
I mean, she is from the BBC, so let's assume she's not from here and may not just know the building. I mean, it's possible, right?
No, she said the Solomon Brothers building, which wasn't hit by an airplane, was none of that. They described the building perfectly and then say that, and this is not what they're saying this is what they're being told from people on the
Right.
ground. So this is not their information. This is what's being told to them from people that were there. And when she gets done saying it, the building falls.
Did they ever say who gave him that information?
No, come on. No one's going to ask the question. I'd
Figure
like to
that
know
out.
where the damn black boxes are too. To be
Figure that
honest.
Well, that I will tell you, they did find the black box because I saw them find the black box, and that was on Church Street in a cemetery, right on Church Street next to the Hilton, which also
Yeah, there-
had sensors on it for weeks because it was wobbling. Yeah, at nighttime they had laser sensors on all four corners, and I was parked across the street from it. We abandoned a couple times. It was rough.
Yeah, they never made the content. So Jesse Ventura did that show, Conspiracy Theories.
Yep.
And he went around and he interviewed all of these people, including the woman on the inside of the Pentagon who ran out of the hole that was made there that day with her baby in tow in her hand. And he interviewed a lot of people in that episode that said the same thing that Eric just said, that they did find the black boxes. But the official story to this day is that they didn't find any of the black boxes. The 168 cameras all pointed at the Pentagon from gas stations and hotels and all that across Washington Boulevard. They all failed. Every single one of them failed at the same time on the same day. Vigilant Guardian, which was the operation of the drill that was being ran that day where U.S. fighters were chasing the imaginary Russian MiGs, also had a training book that had the Twin Towers in the crosshairs. So when Condoleezza Rice came out and said, we could have never imagined or trained for such an event to take place. Well, you did in that day. If that's the reason why the guy in the flight control said, is this real life or is this drill? Right? Because there was a drill of what actually happened on the day that it actually happened. It was called Vigilant Guardian. If you want to look it up. So there are a lot of things that took place this day and a lot of ignorance, willful ignorance by our own media to tout the official story when like how many hijackers got in and who they were and all of those kinds of things, passports flying through burning buildings out of airplanes that were in perfect condition, of people that ended up being found alive in Afghanistan. They weren't even there. Like, how do you have my passport? I'm right here. I wasn't there. There's just a lot of things.
It goes back to when the Democrats said don't let a good disaster go unused. It was a cover up.
That was Rahm Emanuel that said
yeah.
Well, let's not forget the history goes back beyond that, down back to the USS Cole that was bombed by Bin Laden.
Yes.
Okay. So, and then
Yes.
you have the 1990 bombing attempted, bringing down the Trade Center. That really was out of sight, out of mind, and it doesn't take a whole lot of effort when you have a total breakdown of all of your authorities and rules, regulations, and how those things are contemplated and acted out upon by enemies of our state, including members of our state.
Including members of our state. Yep. Because on September the 10th, Donald Rumsfeld held a news conference where he said $2.3 trillion was misappropriated by the Pentagon. And where the Pentagon got hit was where they housed all of the financial records. And then that whole investigation of that $2.3 trillion just goes away. No one ever finds out anything. No one's ever investigated. It just kind of goes away. Just like the WorldCom and Enron situation, they said would have broke the U.S. market. That disappeared overnight as well.
And I could have sworn, I remember hearing or reading something that prior to that, they arrested somebody in Germany who told the German police he knew something was going to happen in New York that week, but didn't know what, but he wanted to talk to the American FBI to let them know, and they didn't let him talk. And I can't remember where I heard that from.
And I agree. And I can't help but go back and mention that the people of Enron who work for that company, many for decades of their life and their professional careers, that was at the expense of them and their pensions, because they all lost everything unfairly.
Yeah, everybody remembers, like, they were doing like magazine covers and the people of Enron, and they were like doing they were all over the place with, they were trying to put them in magazines and centerfolds. And then all of a sudden overnight, they just disappeared completely. Gone.
Yeah. I don't know about all the conspiracy theory with 9/11. I was young when it happened. I looked at a bunch of things, but thinking about it, when you have an airplane that hits, the top of the building and the jet fuel is burning, and it's enough to knock the monocoat that's on the steel, knock that off and melt the steel. And then it was I think it was a hammer effect, just boom, 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 boom,
But it
boom,
wasn't.
coming down.
But it wasn't, though, because the building fell in 9.2 seconds. Steel doesn't lose its structural integrity until it gets to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The fuel inside of an airplane only burns at 1,200 degrees, which is like kerosene-based fuel. So you wouldn't have had the building fall due to the fuel inside of the airplane, which most of the fuel inside of the airplane went up in the air in the initial contact with the building when you saw that big plume of fire. Then if you say the pancake collapse theory, which is the one that you had, I worked in NIST at the time when this happened, and they tested the conditions to try to recreate that pancake collapse over and over and over again and couldn't do it. Now, the way that the building fell was 91 stories. It fell in 9.2 seconds. So it didn't pick up speed along the way and continue. If you would have dropped a brick from the roof at the same time the collapse started happening, that brick would have hit the ground the same time as the roof. It had no resistance whatsoever from the top to the bottom, straight down.
Well, you are right about that.
It's an exoskeleton building, though, and I will tell you. So
you should have still had the elevator the core,
the shafts and stuff like that are at dead center. Here's the problem, though, is that when I looked, and I was there pretty early on, they were still bucketing, small debris out. But at the end of the day, how many doors do you think were in that building? 50,000 at least doors, just doors.
Mm-hmm.
How about desks, telephones, telephone wires, toilets, amenities, lighting fixtures, major heavy duty built stuff, maybe some safes and stuff. When I tell you that at the bottom of that hole, at the bottom of that tower,
molten,
there was nothing but long pieces of steel being carted out in trucks after truck after truck for miles.
You know what they did with that?
Days and dust. There was nothing recognizable, like a door, a toilet, a sink. They were finding human remains, not a body. And they would have to tag each piece that they found, DNA tested on site, put it together with other pieces, and ultimately DNA test together and send them to family members. I mean, it was dust to dust. It was insanely amazing.
So here's what they did with that when they took it, like you said, when they took the steel, they put it inside of one of the bunkers. I forget what it was called. I want to say hangar something 52 or something like that. Jesse Ventura did a show on that as well, and he actually went there and looked. But they carted that off and immediately melted that down, and then put it onto an aircraft carrier and named it aptly. They did not allow for anyone to do any investigation. In fact, Bush signed something before and after to prevent investigations prior, because Ariel Sharon, the leader of Israel at the time, told them days before that they heard chatter about this happening. Putin actually did it as well. And Odago, which is an Israeli instant messaging company, caught several messages telling them that this was going to happen. And the funny thing is Israel was so adamant that this was going to happen that they actually had a lease, which they broke 7 days prior to this occurring and moved out prior to it happening. Because
there's a lot of stories like that with people moving out, not being where they normal would be for days in advance, almost like they were on notice. It still goes back. Bill Clinton had prime opportunity to take out bin Laden, just like Trump took out Soleimani.
And Black Hawk Down. Yep. Yeah, he had the Black Hawk Down situation.
Yeah, a couple of times he had an opportunity to put a bullet in that fool's head and didn't.
You know why he didn't? Bin Laden worked for the CIA. His CIA handler name was Tom Osmar. And it even gets worse than that. And I'll play this for you in a little bit, but Benazir Bhutto, who was the leader of Pakistan, and actually had Pakistan removed from the terror watch list while she was in power and was thrown out in a military coup because of the things that she was doing there to try to clean the country up. She did an interview with Robert Frost where she talked about this adamantly. Here, matter of fact, I'll just go to it and show you.
We took out Bhutto.
So she just said it right there. She's telling you that the head of the ISI, Omar Sheikh, was the man who murdered Osama bin Laden. Keep in mind, this interview is occurring in 2002. So she's telling you right now that not only is she's telling you she's going to be killed, she's telling you who's going to kill her, how they're going to do it when she goes back, because she did go back and she was assassinated right after she landed. But right here in this interview, you'll hear her say, Omar Sheikh, the man who murdered bin Laden, which was the head of their, what we would call our CIA, they call the ISI in Pakistan. Listen.
The man who murdered Osama bin Laden.
Who murdered Osama bin Laden. Now you can go seek the full interview there, but she names the entire clique by name, tells you who they work for, what group they belong to, and what they did. And every damn thing that she said shook out exactly the way she said it, with the exception of we continued to tell people that bin Laden was alive and fine, doing videos, saying what's up to everybody. And then we went over there, killed him, and then with no witnesses at all, threw his body off into the water without so much as a photograph to verify his identity. It's like, no, you don't understand. I caught this big fish. Well, let's see it. Oh, I threw it back. It's all right. We threw it back. And then here's a video.
That part was definitely insane. To throwing his body into the ocean without bringing it back to the United States and showing here he is. We got him.
They respected his religion, Damon. Should we have respected that man's religion and threw him in the water, or should we have cared more about the families from 9/11? Because the kicker is, to this day right now, bin Laden has never been formally charged with what happened on 9/11. And the Taliban said they would have turned him over to us if we would have just given them the proof that he was involved. And we couldn't. And we still couldn't.
If they want to respect his religion, they should have respected it in the Atlantic Ocean on the east coast of the United States after everyone saw him dead, and then go and toss them out.
Well, I figure if you're bad enough, they send a SEAL team after you. You don't get any respect. No.
Exactly.
They should throw you in a dumpster and be done with you when they're done. But I don't, like you said, I don't think it was bin Laden they killed. And I think that's why the SEALs were targeted after that, because they knew.
Yep. And you'll
so
see
what
that.
We're agreeing on is that wokeness started way before 2020, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say so.
couple days before 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. Now here's a picture of thermite actually burning at the site. That is molten steel right there, which is what happens when you apply thermite to a steel beam. This dripping, this liquid that's falling off of here, that is 100. That's 100% thermite in that picture. There's no denying that is thermite. That's what thermite does. And you can just Google thermite, and you can see people testing it all day long. You paint it on a girder, and it just needs a little spark, and it will just eat up whatever the hell it's on. Just eat right through it. Steel, iron, it doesn't matter.
Wow. You sure it's not a coating from the stainless steel exterior?
No, that's molten steel, which was still under.
I know. I mean, these are bewildering. They're bewildering, but I don't know. Tough to say, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'll admit I'm completely ignorant about what you're talking about, so I'm just going to sit here and nod because I have no idea about structure.
I told you I was in the communications business. I was far from anything having to do with structural steel.
Yeah,
according to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
Here, let's hear it again.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
2.3 trillion with a T.
And that was on September the 10th. And this was the same guy.
Number's 6 trillion now. each
They-
year, roughly.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
He not only that, he also said that the plane was shot down over Shanksville, Pennsylvania. He said it in his own interview. He said the plane that was shot down over Shanksville. I'll try to find that footage so you can hear it yourself.
Yeah, well, 2.3 trillion is a pretty good motive.
Yeah, I would
You
say
wanna
so.
hide that up.
I would do a lot for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you do for a Klondike bar there, Damon? What would you do? So I found the footage right here. I'm gonna download it and I'll play it for you. But they, this is why it's just so important, guys, that the government is on the level with the people, because when you're not on the level with people, conspiracy theories form, and then people start having to come up with their own versions as to what happens. Now, although we can say for certain, we can point out some lies that are just on the surface, absolute lies. We don't know what really happened, right? We don't know the inner workings or the details of what happened, but I am 1,000% certain that those people in charge do. And the fact that they do and we don't, and all we can do is call out the fallacies in their story.
All of us have a sense if we.
So here it is. Here is Donald Rumsfeld saying that the plane was shot down.
I think all of us have a sense if we imagine the kind of world we would face if the people who bombed the Bess Hall in Mosul, or the people who did the bombing in Spain, or the people who attacked the United States in New York, shot down the plane over Pennsylvania and attacked.
Shot down the plane over Pennsylvania. Now, you're in the communications industry, Eric, right? So you know about cell phones and how they work and that sort of thing. Me as well. And the planes back in 2001, they used to be equipped with the little phone on the back of the seat. Remember, you had to put your credit card and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but if you had a yeah, me either, like $100 phone call from the air. But if you were to break out your cell phone when you're at 30,000 feet, 20,000, even 10,000, it doesn't matter, going 500 miles per hour with no cell tower, would it work?
Chances are no. Let's try over the ocean, maybe.
No, yeah, it wouldn't.
So the phone calls coming from that flight, United 93, I believe it was. So I always wondered that myself. Like, how did they make those phone calls?
They weren't real. We can make them phone calls right now. We have AI. You think they didn't have it back then? They had it. They had access to all the stuff that we're playing with now, 10 years ago plus. But the thing that what made us ask the question, or at least say something's funny about this, is that when the guy called his mother, right? It was two calls. It was one from the stewardess to her husband, and then there was the one from the guy to his mom. And the guy that made the phone call to his mother said, "Hi, Mom, it's blankety blank." And he says his whole name, your son. And so when you call your mom, do you identify yourself to your mom with your first and last name? "Hi, Mom, it's Eddie Smith." Your son. Like, no, speaking to the mic. I don't think he heard you. What kind of, but at the end of the phone call, he goes, "Let's roll." Roll where? Roll where? This was the story that they were trying to build, saying that the plane was taken over by passengers and that the passengers crashed the plane, when there's several eyewitnesses that said that's not at all what occurred, that they saw the plane get shot down. They were at least no less than 8 or 9 that I saw myself, with people saying that one lady said she had her minivan was taking her kids to school, and the smaller plane that came over top of her vehicle and then swooped up was like twice the size of her van, but it wasn't a passenger plane, and that's what shot down the plane. And they couldn't find anything of that plane in Shanksville. Matchbook size pieces were all that was found. No luggage, no bodies, none of that kind of stuff. They didn't find them. We had planes that hit the sides of mountains. We have almost 100 years of aviation history, right? Planes hitting things, wrecking, crashing. It didn't matter. There was always a black box. There was always a plane. There was always bodies. But 4 different times that day, 4 planes crashed, and all 4 planes disintegrated. They said it never happened in aviation history ever, not even one time ever, until that day. And then it happened 4 times on the same day.
That's quite a coincidence.
You know,
In the words of the great Stephen K. Bannon, there really there's no conspiracies, right? But there's definitely also no coincidences, right? Or is it the
That's
opposite?
right.
No coincidences, no conspiracies. Either way, it works, and there aren't. But I will say this: I don't think there's too big of a question of Pennsylvania being more than a coin toss as it being shot down. I mean, I don't think there's even an
I don't
argument
blame
for
him for
that,
shooting
really.
it down. Honest to God,
Yeah,
if
no, I mean, because
I wouldn't either if it
that was
was.
going towards, if it's going towards the Capitol. I don't remember. Was there a joint session near
there
that
was,
day? I don't know.
Leon Panetta was down there, and so was Dick
Right,
Cheney. So Dick
right.
Cheney was
So,
was the head of NORAD that day. It had never
right. So, I
happened
mean, I
where
don't
the
think the
military
public
wasn't.
really would have a problem knowing that. Like, we're if you really understand reality, mathematics, calculus, whatever they're using to map out these political issues and decisions or whichever. um you know it's just reality. So I think where we are today, I think we're a little bit further along with being able to deal with the truth. At least more than half of us are, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought it was shot down myself. To be
So
honest
did
with you,
I.
and
So did I.
if they admitted it, I would
Well,
understand.
the story
I-
goes like this. The story
That's the
goes that
crazy thing.
Leon Panetta walked into the room where Dick Cheney was, and he said, "Sir, the planes are 30 minutes out. What do I do?" And this is the story he said to the 9/11 Commission. He said, Cheney whipped his head around and said, "I told you what to do. Nothing. Stand down." And then he said he came back when the planes were 20 minutes out, and he said, "Sir, they're 20 minutes out. What do I do?" Nothing. And he said he got all the way down to like 5 or 10 minutes or some low number. And he said, "Just what I told you, nothing." And so the conspiracy theory part of that goes something like, the military has always controlled, up until that day, the military has controlled NORAD. No one's ever been in charge of NORAD but the military, ever. But for some reason, 2.5 weeks before 9/11, Dick Cheney ordered the military to hand over authority of NORAD to him. So this is the first time ever that a vice president was in charge of NORAD, and it happened to occur on the same day that this all happened with 9/11. And he was the one who gave the stand down order. That's
Dick
what was
Cheney-
said to the 9/11 Commission.
Dick Cheney ran the CIA, though, right?
Did Dick Cheney run the CIA? That's something I don't know.
At some point, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was director at some point. Yeah.
Right. So there's
Makes
that.
it-
I mean, but here's the real problem with everything that we're talking about is you can't unelect the people that we're talking about, and they're very difficult to unseat, meaning the deep state. These are the people that are really in charge of making decisions, and they've been handed that power time and time again, by whether it's by legislation or by hook or by crook. And what we're seeing is a culmination of a lot of those issues coming to our daily lives in all sorts of violent forms and issues, and rights being taken away, whether it's parental rights and public education, no taxation without representation. It's gotten pretty rough out there for a lot of families. It takes a lot of effort, especially to remain as a nuclear family, with conservative values, God, family, country, basics of conservatism, and really the three pillars of American society as we've all accepted it, as we've integrated this country legally. So that's where we are.
Dick Cheney never ran the CIA. I just looked.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
He was in. Oh, all right. So anyway, so he owns Halliburton, right? So
Yes.
That was good.
So pretty much, it's pretty much the same thing, right?
Different name. Same thing. You're right. And that's the thing with the shooting down the jet. Why not? If you're trying to avoid.
Yeah, well, that's the problem.
My wife calls that. My wife says I jump the shark all the time. I'll add a couple bits of potential theory that aren't factual, but you get the point, though, right? Whether it's CIA, on the books or off, if he's getting his W-2 from there, or his massive golden parachutes from Halliburton, it's one and the same.
Oh yeah.
That's what happens when you have big government. When you have too much government, then there wouldn't be a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. If you're trying to avoid the appearance of a conspiracy, why lie about the jet?
What was that?
Why lie about the jet if you want to avoid conspiracy? Like if you're trying to avoid the conspiracy theory aspect, why lie about shooting down the jet? Just say, hey, we had no choice. We had to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you start covering up, it looks like you're trying to hide other stuff. It's
exactly.
Is that Barack Obama to the right?
That was, yeah, right. It looked a lot like him, didn't it? It looked a lot like, that was the funniest thing to me about the whole thing about Barack Obama. We spent all those years looking for, Osama bin Laden. And then we turn and Muslim terrorists and all this word on everyone's tongue, active terrorism, Islamic terrorism. And then you turn around and elect Obama Hussein, blah, blah. That makes no damn sense to me at all. Zero sense.
All right. Well, here's the explanation for you. I know a lot about it. Okay. That is the beginning of America starting to become what we call an Islamist IST state.
Yes.
And a lot of that's been promulgated with billions and billions of taxpayer money and also foreign money coming into this country to really pull some of the things that we're seeing all together as commingled, being LGBTQIA plus, CRT, Black Lives
all
Matter,
the letters, man.
and
He had all the letters
put together. They all combined under Islamists because they invented the word after September 11th, Islamophobia. And that word could cost us our constitutional republic. It very may will if we don't win in November, for sure. But we need to be talking next time we get together about Asra Namani. She is a beast. She is a Iranian feminist, basically, is what she describes herself. She worked for the Wall Street Journal, left her father's a radical imam from Iran. She knows all about it, connects all the dot from care right down to the things that happen in our public schools. We got to talk about it next time around.
Yeah, well, look at all the money that they're putting into colleges, from Middle Eastern companies.
The Iranian
countries.
It all started September 11th with Islamophobia.
The Iranian people
are the
very intelligent folks, and their government completely misrepresents by looking at what the Iranian government says, the stuff they put out into the ether. You would think that the people believe like them, but they don't. They have a large Christian population. They're very open-minded. They are not like the Islamic Republic, which is the faction that actually rules them. So this is the one time. It's not like
are not welcome in their own place.
Exactly.
The Christians are oppressed in Iran. It's horrible.
They are. They have to keep it very secret what they're doing and that sort of thing. But the Iranian people will beat folks for holding hands in public. You wearing certain clothing or whatever the case may be. They murder their political dissidents right in the street in front of everybody.
They don't just they don't just beat you for that. They'll behead you for not wearing the appropriate.
They're pretty extreme over there. They don't play around.
Yeah, but the people have a completely different outlook than, say, what happened after the Shah of Iran came back and all the way up until Ahmadinejad took office, and the way that they were touting, what their government was trying to do on the world stage. The people disagree with them. I see so many Iranian people put out footage and just content disagreeing with their government, doing it secretly, of course, or doing it after they leave the country. But yes, they are not like their government whatsoever. It's not like the Palestinians in the Hamas, which are 80-90% one and the same. So that's.
Well, didn't the new president?
I do know that. Who wants to be oppressed? I mean, they oppress their own people. I mean, the rule of law there, but that is the problem. Actually, look at how many school board members, if you look at their associations, and unfortunately, there's just a lot of radicalization going on when a school board member, they're looking for public, call to prayer in a public institution like that is a crisis point for that area in our country. It's happened.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right.
The new president in Iran, is he more of a friendly?
So here's a side-by-side, guys. This is an apartment building or an office building or some kind being demolished. This is Solomon Brothers, side by side. Watch. There is no question they pulled that building just like Larry Silverstein said they did. Funny thing was that he changed his insurance policy weeks before it happened to write in that if the buildings fell due to an act of terrorism, he got paid double.
Lucky
These
man.
are facts. These things aren't contested. These are literal. Yeah. And one of the Bushes are the ones that underwrote the insurance policy, from my understanding. That part I don't know. That's the conjecture part. But the fact that he changed
I
it.
still got to add, though, there's a mall and a train station underneath that whole complex there. Buildings 1 through 7, right? There's 7 buildings, at least. And underneath there's literally a shopping mall, a big one. I mean, it's got to be 300, 400 feet below ground, and then everything basically is anchored in some way, shape, or form through beams to bedrock down there eventually. And I know the bedrock was shaking for days and days and days after September 11th. So I just got to wonder, does it give that appearance similar to, demolition that we see in the other building? Did it just literally fall in upon itself because it had, a 400-foot head start potentially, or even deeper? I think it is.
Well,
it might be more like 1,000 feet down there.
William Rodriguez, who was the head maintenance guy for the complex, he did an interview. He did several interviews, in fact, and he was interviewed by the 9/11 Commission, and he said that the buildings were cleared out 2 weeks before. All of the bomb sniffing dogs that were in the buildings, everything were all removed, and they said they were going in to remove asbestos off of the steel beams, and so they didn't let anyone in during that time. So they went in, they cleared the building out, and all these people went in and they got rid of the asbestos, which is on the girders, which were the same girders that would have been painted with thermite. So you can see how this kind of connects all the dots. And the person that was in charge during that time was Marvin Bush. He was the one who cleared the buildings out. He was the one who oversaw that. Willie Rodriguez worked right alongside him. Willie also said they were in the basement when the first plane hit, but he said prior to the first plane hitting, and I'm going to find this footage and show it to you. Prior to the first plane hitting, there was an explosion, to your point, which he said occurred from underneath them. And a man, they were tending to a man who had half of his skin off of his body because the fireball came through the elevator shaft, and his man jumped off the elevator and was like half his body was burnt. And then the plane hit above them after that first explosion.
Anything's possible, guys. I mean, I obviously wasn't there firsthand, thank God, and I do. Again, I pray for the lost souls and innocent victims of all these occurrences, whether there were, whether they were terrorists, whether they were infiltrators, whether it was, enemies, foreign or domestic. We lost a lot of lives there, and first responders. I mean, I met countless firefighters that lost their brothers and sisters when that tower came down, and thousands of others. It was really, a large scale event. It did bring this country together in a way that I thought I'd never have to think about again. And going back to 2020, it's really devastating to have seen and witnessed those things firsthand. I met every kind of person, including Donald Trump was there in the days after and during. James Gandolfini came through. The Queen of England sent a delegation through, which I received some letters and thank yous because no one could use phones, believe it or not. It was crazy. I think we gave out 5,000 phones in about 8 to 12 million minutes while we were there. It was pretty cool. But again, going back to it, there was unity. Nobody was anything but loving with one another, standing side by side, saying this is something that's attacked us all. And hopefully we can find that unity and get us all represented under one flag again.
That would be nice.
America,
No, you're right, but it shouldn't take tragedy for unity in this country. It shouldn't.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate that that's what it is. That's what happens when a great tragedy like this happens, or a war or something like that. That is when people tend to bond together, and we haven't had a tragedy, a great tragedy, in a long time in this country. Not like 9/11.
Right.
Wasn't Ronald Reagan the one that said that what if we faced a threat from outside this world? Is that what it would take for us to come together as a people, on Earth if we faced an enemy. Like everyone says he was talking about aliens, but I mean, I think he was just making a point. But
yeah.
Can we get into aliens now? Or are we done? Because I can get into that with you too. I mean, that's some insane stuff going on right now. I mean, we did listen. We had the biggest amount of energy that's ever really been seen in our stratosphere, in our lifetimes or beyond. At the same time as that total eclipse a few months back, at the same day that CERN was firing up their Hadron Collider, to the 10th power, and on the same day to take advantage of all the additional power that is in the Earth's atmosphere during that time, and yet you never hear a word about it. And that thing's located right there in the middle of globalist land.
Are you talking about a HARP or CERN? HARP is in Alaska. HARP is in Alaska.
CERN and the Hadron Collider is in the hills over there, right next to Switzerland and France.
Yeah.
So that's straight up Klaus Schwab territory, right there, and that's why it's there. And
the
all
funny thing is they say that
they commit big numbers. We only just started contributing to that fund. We gave $500 billion recently. That's only the first time we did that, but before that, you got to look at Hungary. By the way, they're 16% of their GDP goes towards this Hadron Collider. So why is it so important? I don't know. They're looking for dark matter. I think they found it. There's a lot of stuff going on with opening up some time-space continuum tears. We're going to see what happens soon. It's coming.
That's what caused all the Mandela effect, right? They ripped a hole in the dimension or whatever, and we all slipped into a different dimension. And now the monopoly guy has or does not have a monocle. Ed McMahon never was the one giving out the Publishers Clearinghouse checks. How many people remember Ed McMahon doing the Publishers Clearinghouse? Is it just me?
Oh, I remember.
Oh, come on. I grew up on that.
It never
times I
never
tried
happened.
with stamps or something like that as a kid. I was like, how many stamps do I need to win this thing already?
Yeah, I know.
Same thing with the Pepsi bottle caps, and I was only for like $3,000. But
Never
Baltimore was never in there. Okay. They never had Baltimore, and they never had like some other no-name team. And those were the ones you needed to have all the caps, those bastards.
Yeah, you're talking about the B&O Railroad and all that. Well, the thing here with this is that they're telling us that Ed McMahon never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. That is a figment of everyone's imagination.
No way.
Yeah, I promise you. Here, watch.
No, I believe it. No, I swear I remember them.
Yeah, I'm going to play the video right now. Hold on. You'll
Well,
see. You look it up too.
They're postal workers. They're all aliens, right?
Yeah.
That's from what's
Men
that
in
movie?
Black.
Men in Black. Yeah.
Men in Black. That's right. Yeah.
Here we go. Look.
Mrs. Abruzzo, I'm Ed McMahon, and we're signing up people for.
Yes.
Yeah.
My friends, I gotta hit you with some truth. The entertainer Ed McMahon never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. He never showed up at the doorsteps of people handing them out.
Worked for Kirby Vacuums.
In any of these commercials. This is a false memory experienced by myself and many other people. And as you know, it is a Mandela effect.
Miss Murphy, Ed McMahon. We're starting up. No.
Really do
Be it
Now, clips of that commercial show people generally being excited for Ed McMahon to show up at their door. And although he's offering some complete other product, they're excited in the sense like they're about to have their lives changed and like they're going to win something big. Now, why would that be? When in fact, Ed McMahon never handed out checks and never was associated with Publishers Clearinghouse, never had his face printed on the envelopes, as so many people remember. And those envelopes are a big one too, my friends. A lot of people think they remember seeing like a drawing of Ed McMahon, like an outline of him on these envelopes for Publishers Clearinghouse, when in fact that never actually happened. Do you remember seeing one of these envelopes? A lot of people talk about a commercial from 1994 where McMahon actually shows up and hands a woman a check, actually presents it to her. However, many people have gone out on the internet and searched for that video and they cannot find it. They don't seem to believe that it exists after looking for it. There's also a clip from the Golden Girls. There's a clip, you'll see Betty White, you'll see they're getting all excited. They get a phone call like they won something, and then they talk about Ed McMahon as if culture made these references in multiple places that he was the guy that would bring you these big checks and let you know that you won all this money. Check it out.
What? Oh, where's the publisher's clearinghouse? Ed McMahon wants to see me right away.
And that's only one thing. There was references that are found in Rose.
But that, to take his long speech and cut it down, it never happened. It never happened.
Wait, let's set it straight right now. Ed McMahon was never advertised as the person delivering the prizes. It was the prize patrol, was it not? The black van with the little thing, couple women, dude gets out, looks more like I don't know, more like not Ed McMahon, but his the guy from that owns all the TV shows.
Ed McMahon worked for American Clearing. He actually worked for American Clearinghouse, Ed McMahon, but he never worked for Publishers Clearing.
Oh, there you go. Okay, gotcha. All right.
So what will be one question?
So he delivered Pepsi, not Coke.
Yeah, I'm just curious though. One question: what will be the point of a conspiracy theory with Ed McMahon not actually delivering the checks? Like what is the gain from that?
It's just a false memory. So what they call the Mandela effect.
Oh,
right.
It's like it's in the Matrix. It's like deja vu.
Yeah, we think we all remember things that never actually happened. That's the Mandela effect. So was it Jiffy peanut butter or was it Jif?
Oh, I think it was Jif.
It's Jif. Yeah,
for
sure.
It was Jif.
Yeah, Jif. Yeah.
It was Jif. And now let's see what else. Does the Monopoly Man have a monocle or does he not have a monocle?
I think he does.
He does.
It says here that the Monopoly Man does not have a monocle. I remember a monocle. Yeah. I can see the monocle, everything. It's not real.
I don't know. I remember an owl having a monocle for sure. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's like you just get. Maybe it was Mr. Potato Head. Who knows? I mean, he had a bunch of adjustable character.
Here's one that's going to blow your mind.
Definitely had a monocle.
Here's one that's going to blow all your minds. Darth Vader never said, "Luke, I am your father." That line does not exist in the movie.
He just says, "I'm your father." He doesn't say Luke.
Yeah.
No, he does he? It
I
says
think,
here,
yeah,
"Luke, I am your father" is probably one of the greatest misremembered lines in Star Wars. However, it says here, he says, the line is simply, "No, I am your father."
Yeah.
So there it is. So there's a bunch of them, guys. I mean, there's ones about MASH, ones about life is always like a box of chocolates, right? Doesn't say Forrest Gump never says life is like a box of chocolates. Never said it in the movie.
I didn't hear it.
MASH viewers remember the death of one main character, Colonel Walter Radar O'Reilly, portrayed by actor Gary Burnoff. However, the character remained alive and well until the send-off episodes in season 8, where he went home. So there are quite a bit. And so the theory goes that the Hadron Collider ripped a hole in space-time, and all of these things that we think we remembered are not actually true, because we're in a different dimension from the one that we were originally in, where these things did happen.
Very possible. It could be too that it's like the book I read when I was about, I don't know, 9 years old, and it was like saying like every time you blink is when reality is occurring. Everything else is just a dream.
Well, here's the thing. They actually did prove something like that.
How about that conspiracy theory that the moon landing was staged?
Oh, the moon landing was false.
Yeah,
I'll go on record saying that. He even said that we watched animation, right? He even said it on the Conan O'Brien show. He said there was no cameras on the moon, which is why everybody doesn't think that the moon landing exists, because we were able to tear those pictures apart, proving that is not like, for one instance, they took a picture of the moon lander and a mountain range behind it. Then there was another picture of the mountain range without the moon lander. So if the moon lander is not on the surface, how in the hell did you take the picture? Right. And then in the old days, there used to be dots on the picture. Ever so many inches, there were like little dots, and they would be in a line each way across the picture. Well, there were several pictures that were doctored, and remember, there are no stars in the sky behind them when they landed on the moon and planted the flag. not one star in the sky, and the flag was blowing in the wind. There's no wind in a vacuum. So
Yeah, it was cloudy. That's why you couldn't see the stars. It was cloudy
no,
in the moon.
no, it was black as night, completely black as night. And there were 2 light sources, and there's all kinds of things like that. But the thing is, for me, is that the Russians were supposed to be racing us to the moon. And the Russians racing us to the moon never happened because we went and they never went. They never even tried. And we haven't been back since 69. Right. So if we did go, we haven't gone again. And
they did try, though. They failed. They were there 2 days later from the lunar landing. No.
Which rocket was that?
Fact check me on that one. I remember I watch a lot of Ancient Aliens, I'll tell you. Probably more than most.
George Norrie. I love George Norrie. I
recommended daily allowance for about 15 years. I mean,
George Norrie is a great guy. I've had conversations with George Norrie, and he's just a cool. I mean, this is the guy you want if you're like at a get together and you want to sit down and have wild conversation. Him and Art Bell would be, and they didn't like each other, by the way. Art Bell and George Norrie did not like one another. Art Bell felt very slighted to have Norrie step into his spot and take Coast to Coast over. But in rest in peace, Art Bell, he was great.
Friend, I got a question for you. What's the deal with Skinwalker Ranch, man? I'm seeing a big anomaly. 30 feet up in the air, a rocket goes right through this
around
thing,
it. It went around it. It changed its flight path.
There is 100% a hadron collider right there. That is a portal. No doubt.
Something going on there.
I mean, but how are they watching on TV? How are we going to watch this out? Like, if there really is something, wouldn't you think we'd know already? Because like it'd be on different news. Yeah.
Quick shout out to Patricia Ray, PR infidel. She's been a listener for me. She was around in the early days of the podcast and still around. Patricia, I hope you're doing well. But you're right. Yes, Skinwalker Ranch is
crazy.
Is definitely something going on there. Portals open and close. There are beams and anomalies that show up on infrared that you can't see with the naked eye. There are just radiation appears out of nowhere and then disappears. They can't dig there. There are just tons and tons. And also Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch, which is right next door. Frog
they're digging through that thing, man. Who knows? They're pulling. Where did they pull the green gel out? Is that from there? Blind Frog?
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Holy crap, man. I want to see what that is.
The green gel.
Yo, they've got, I'm telling you, there's some.
They're looking for a treasure.
Cross-dimensional, whatever you want to call it, fabric, space, time, continuum. I'm telling you.
And it's right on the ley line.
All happening right there, right around the corner from him.
Are you sure it wasn't chromium?
Listen, they landed in the guy's backyard too. Your neighbor over there, not too far from where you live. Listen, those are like real deal gremlins or whatever they are.
Are you sure it wasn't chromium? I was doing a job up in Jersey City, and we were digging. We're doing the foundations. We dug up chromium, and that looked like kryptonite. It was glowing green.
Well, that's cancerous. You shouldn't be digging it up.
No, we didn't know it was there until we found it when we were digging it. And then we had to call hazmat and come and they had to take care of it and put it in barrels and ship it out.
You find
but
it looked like
too. Here's what they did on
spent fuel rods from a nuclear facility.
Maybe
Blind Frog Ranch took dirt. They were digging. They're looking for treasure. They believe that the natives that were there dug some holes and tunnels and buried a bunch of treasure in it. That's why they're there. But one of the things is their metal detectors were going off in one region of the ranch. So they took a bunch of dirt, which appeared to be giving them, hits on their detectors. So they took this and they smelted the dirt, just the dirt. And the dirt, when they smelted it, came out pure silver. And they did it over and over and over again. And it kept, and then when they dug down, they did find another element. But this element was something that comes from outer space, and it's extremely rare, more precious than platinum and gold. And they found an abundance of it on Blind Frog Ranch. Let me find out what it was while you guys are talking.
Wow. Let's talk about elements. How about element 115? Is that the number 115?
Art Bell had a piece of it.
Man, a piece of it. I mean, that's antimatter. That's basically, free, it's like an easy path for planets, man. I mean, for the universe.
What was it? That medal from
It's
from
literally
the Avengers?
No, it's literally what this guy said that he worked on, and they all thought he was crazy, tried to condemn him, put him, discredit him, deep state type stuff from him talking. What was his name? And your boy from out there in Vegas exposed it all on the news. Eddie.
Forget it.
Goes on out your way.
Yeah, his name is the one who works for KLUC on Channel 8.
Yeah,
George Knapp.
George Knapp.
Yeah,
George Knapp.
George Knapp is the only reason that any of us actually know that Area 51 exists.
Exactly. He exposed it because the guy, what was the guy that came out? I mean, I can't remember his name, but he's got a W2.
Bob Lazar.
I mean, what a story that guy is. And honestly, I really can't believe that he made it through that alive, because most guys like that would have been stopped breathing a long time ago for a lot of reasons.
So let's recall some of Bob Lazar's story real quick. This is wild, guys. So Bob Lazar says
there's 7 ships, and they all fly around the universe at will with the anti-gravitational force that runs this element 115. Swore he was crazy, set him up like with a porn star, basically. Okay, discredited him with the porn star. Did they not? Google that. So I'm telling you, I'm an addict on this network, man. I've watched a lot of these episodes, Ancient Aliens, you name it, man. I know them all, and that's what happened. And this guy, they discredited Bob Lazar. Had him driving around in an 84 Corvette, remember, right? Then they hooked him up with a porn star, got totally discredited, but then they found his W-2 from the Navy.
Yeah, well, not only that, they found his W-2.
But he worked at S7.
He also outed an entire branch of the military that no one knew existed.
Yeah, S7, which is really now the Space Force, basically. And S7 was a separate whole facility in Area 51 where the real deal Holyfield with stuff was going down.
You're talking about S4, Area S4.
S4, yes, S4.
Yeah. So S4 was is right past, it's inside the mountain. So
it's in the mesa, it's in all of them.
Yeah, it's in the mountain, and so it's right on the other side of 51.
We're just
they
not allowed
found
to
his
know
name
yet.
in the Rolodex. That's how they found out he was really there. His name was in the phone directory, even though the government continued to lie and say he never worked for us. He's
never
full of it.
There.
Blah,
No,
blah,
they
blah.
went in. He got threatened many, many times. That's why I'm telling you, I don't know how he's alive. But then they found out that element 115 does exist, and it does what he said it does. And the propulsion techniques that he said that these things work on are physically feasible now.
Didn't they add element 115 to the periodic table?
Yes, it's on the periodic table. Yes, it is. It's on the periodic table. They crucified this poor guy.
Yeah, he still lives out here. He doesn't live too far from where I'm at.
They busted him out broke, man. He owned a scientific laboratory company, sold all kinds of chemicals and things for chemistry. He's a genius. I mean, he's literally a rocket scientist that
he used to drive a rocket to work.
And
he used to drive a full-on rocket to work.
He redesigns and reverse engineers alien technology. I mean, he's a rocket scientist.
That's what he said.
Going on in a town near you too. I'm out here in Jersey, where you had RCA that was out in Morristown, New Jersey. It's now Lockheed Martin. It's basically the skunk works for the intelligence.
Raytheon BAE
that's
system.
Where it's going down. They privatize all that stuff. That stuff doesn't show up on any budgets. There's no Senate. There's no budget committee hearing on what they're spending on stuff, because that's all going to. It's the same thing as an NGO, but for the military apparatus, right?
Well,
so they're not just moving. They're not moving illegal aliens through our communities. They might, they're dealing with all kinds of aliens.
You saw the whistleblower testimony where they said we've had biological entities since 1939, and we hide and redirect money into black budgets to do these things. Like they just did this in Congress.
100%.
And he admitted to it.
I mean, it's like if you don't know about it, then you're just. It's like it's almost common sense. It's like, how would you explain this stuff? I mean, it's crazy. The amount of money that's coming in. I mean, just it's insane. They're hiring 86,000 more agents to come collect it from us. That's why they need to fund all this other crazy stuff.
How many people actually believe in UFOs? Like they're from another planet or so forth?
Like 4 out of 4 that I know.
Well, I mean, I would say
they're from another planet.
Yeah,
they're from a whole different planet than ours.
I mean,
I think they're from
I
here.
don't know. They could be from our past. I don't know. Listen, the Earth could only be 8,000 years old, and it slowed down. Turning. I don't know. I wasn't around 6,000 years ago. Neither one of the other people. But I'll tell you this: these scopes that they're putting out in space now, they're saying that they can see almost to the beginning of the Big Bang, if it really was what happened. They're saying that they can see back in the time. So you don't think that once they can see back in the time, they're going to be able to see forward in time, right?
Well,
It's a loop, isn't it?
Yeah, well, every time you look in the sky,
MC
and see a
squared.
star, you're looking back in time because it takes so long for that light to get down there. So you're actually looking at.
They
looking
only
back in
put this
time.
thing up a couple weeks ago. They're already seeing the light.
But I believe that
Go ahead.
you
Eddie.
can't have galaxies out there, that would have and say that we're the only planet that sustains life. There has to be. Yeah, there has.
I mean,
to be.
I think under those circumstances, it would be arrogant to say that we were the only planet that had life. But that then there's the flat Earth theory and all of those things, which say that those things are hanging in the sky and the Earth is a plane that doesn't go around because it's 25,000 feet round, according to scientists, which would mean every 1 mile you drop off 8 inches all the way around the Earth, and that's the circumference of the Earth. Well, if that happens, how is it that we look up in the sky and see like the North Star, for instance, right? If I go set my telescope up in the backyard right now and I point it at the North Star, remember this, we're spinning 1,000 miles per hour and we're being thrown through space at 16,000 miles per hour. So we're doing this and we're being thrown. So if a star of any kind was excuse me, let me get my hands in it, was orbiting our planet, no matter how far away, in order for us to see that star as we're spinning 1,000 miles per hour, that star would have to be spinning exponentially faster around the outside of us for it to stay in the same place every night. You shouldn't be able to go outside 2 nights in a row and see the same stars.
For the same reason why you should not be able to jump up in the air and not land on the same place, right? But we do.
Well, no, that's inertia. That's inertia. That's different.
Oh, you're right.
If I jump up and down in a car, I'm still landing on my car seat. But a planet, light years away, that shouldn't, or a star should not be in the same place next night or a week later or any of that. We shouldn't be able to see them consistently the same way.
Well, with that argument, shouldn't you lose sight of it after like 5 minutes? With that argument, if it's doing that, shouldn't we lose sight of that star like in 5 minutes? It should move.
Right. Either that or the light, which we see from most stars, they say is long dead by the time that we see the light because they're that far away.
Exactly. By the time that light travels down to Earth, you're looking back in time. When you see a star, it could be dead for years, and you're looking.
But would it stay in the same place though? Would it stay in the same exact spot?
If it was coming from that spot.
Right, but our spot
until it's extinct, and then it wouldn't exist anymore, and then there'd be a black hole, and then there'd be other light that would be pulled in towards that black hole from the place where that star caved in upon itself and became the most heaviest thing that you could possibly imagine in a quarter of a tiny little packet. Insanity.
All right.
Well, this podcast went pretty wild.
You want to talk quantum physics? Let's talk quantum physics. I know a little bit enough to be dangerous. Let's talk.
So I have another one for you guys.
Light act the same. You could separate two molecules, put one on this side of the planet and one on the other side, but because they were matched before and you take them apart, the other
it doesn't matter, coming together.
It's the same, and the same quantum physics is kind of like, if a tree falls in a forest, nobody hears it, did it make any noise? In quantum physics, really, it's because observing something makes molecules behave differently than not being observed. It's really bizarre.
Well, I used to watch Quantum Leap. That was
Quantum
a good
Leap,
show.
that's good. You're watching the $60 million man or $6 million man in Biden America at 6 trillion.
You guys. So has anyone heard of Admiral Richard Byrd? Anyone know the name?
Yeah.
You're an ancient alien guy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Admiral Byrd, the most decorated man in military history, the highest ranking at that time, up into his time. We were looking for Hitler after World War II, right? So Admiral Byrd went to the pole region and he took several aircraft carriers with him and this project. Was it Paperclip? And he went down there, and he even did these interviews about what he saw or what happened when he was down there. He stopped in Australia and other places on the way back where he did interviews in the 50s. He said that he flew over the ice wall. His granddaughter got a hold of his diary and released it. He had stories of seeing things fly around faster than anything that we could. He said that the biggest threat to Earth, when he came back, he said the biggest threat to Earth was going to come from the polar region. And he said he saw things down there that could fly from pole to pole in seconds. And he said that on live TV.
And they did fly to pole in seconds, and it's all documented with time, increments that you could see in other parts of the topography there compared to travel speed and whatnot. That's documented. And this guy was no joke. I mean, he was an admiral sent up to Antarctica to search really for aliens. I mean, that's really what he went up there for. And basically there's a hole that goes right down through the center of the Earth and comes back around the South Pole. And really, you don't even hear anybody ever talk about the South Pole. I mean, why? Because Santa Claus isn't there, but South Pole is pretty much the same thing as the North Pole. And it really is pretty much one and the same.
He said that there are land down there bigger than the United States, not covered by ice, same kind of temperature outside that we experience here. He said there were saber-toothed tigers. He said there were woolly mammoths. He said all of this. And the funny thing was that the Nazis, before World War II, were sending people down there and
they were on an expedition there too, the Nazis. I mean, they were there for other purposes too. I mean, they wanted to make, they did a lot of things. By the way, another great naval man is one of my favorite, and that is Admiral Roberts. Robert's Rules of Order. This is what our government is supposed to run on, right? Robert's Rules.
Yep.
Another admiral started Navy rules, and a lot of Navy rules, by the way, when you go into a courtroom, and you want to pass the bar as an attorney. Passing the bar is a naval term. The bar is what, separates the captain from the rest of the crew. Right. So these are all naval things. Goes back to admirals, and that admiral was a great admiral, explored a lot of stuff. And, created all these questions that we're still not asking or not even answering today, but most people aren't even asking. Like everything else, things kind of go to the wayside when you let history go.
I agree with that.
So I'm going to show you the interview.
What about pyramids? They still can't explain a lot about that.
Energy source for alien ships. I mean,
right? Just how the stones were cut and everything else. They're like a perfect. You put a framing square on them, and how they were cut perfectly. So what do you think about that?
Out. This is hold on one second before we get off of that subject onto that one, and I like that one. Listen to what this guy says about Admiral Byrd.
All right, y'all. Watch Booty talking straight facts.
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole.
So he just admitted right there is a whole mass of land, right? Whole mass of land that we are not inhabiting. We're not there. And he says that it's as big as the United States, and that it's on the other side of the poles where they don't let us go. Like, we can't go there. If we got a ship
today, also, I think it's like 7. I think there's 7 layers, 6 layers or something.
But if we got a ship today and started heading toward the pole regions, if we wanted to go toward Antarctica or something like that, there would be military ships no matter what region we tried to go in. If we tried to go, doesn't matter what part of it we try to get into. Every single country is a part of the Antarctic Treaty that any military force at any point will not let anyone pass. They'll turn around, get back out of here. You can't go. They won't let you. That's exactly why.
Well, I mean, unless you're an elitist, that's probably where you're building your new crib for when you crush us serfs down to as small a dust as we were talking about September 11th. What happened to those poor people in those buildings? And that's what they're trying to do. By the way, getting back to Carl Schwab and his whole routine, and when he sits there and says to people, you're going to own nothing and you're going to be happy, right? He doesn't just mean those words, and one of the things that comes to mind constitutionally is a social contract that every American has with each other and with our government, and especially when immigrating in this country, which again most of us have or in some way or form legally. And when you do that those social contracts have been around since Socrates for a very very long time, and we have those social contracts to abide by the rule of law, when we are immigrating and when we're coming here and assimilating into the rule of law. And a lot of things that we're talking about fall outside the scope of the rule of law. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is when our government is not doing things according to the rule of law, whether it's Robert's Rules of Order, Constitution, state constitutions, any statute, law, bylaw, no matter what committee or type of committee, how big or small it is, from U.S. Congress or Senate down to your local school board to your fire commissioner's office. There's a rule of law, and when that's not followed, we have a right as citizens to remove those people from office and elect new people. And that is what we got coming. And I pray to God every single day for Donald J. Trump, for everyone else that's involved in that whole administration, everybody working to get every Republican down ticket. It's time to come together. I know I've decided to put aside a lot of my differences I had with local Republican politician people, just to make sure that we can win. And I'm
That's what
hoping
happened
everyone
yesterday. That's what happened yesterday when the opponent backed Mike Byrd, I forget his name, in Michigan, and said essentially that he's getting behind him. He dropped out of the race. We need to unify as a party. That's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take. And that's why I had such a problem with Nikki Haley. That's why I had such a problem with Ron DeSantis and those guys that stabbed this guy in the back and were disloyal and went at him. I still,
but they came back, but they both came back and spoke at the right time, saying the right thing in support of this movement. And really, it is a movement, right? It's not just a political party, and it's not just I'm not a Trumper, right? I don't sit there and parrot and repeat what he said. He doesn't put his beliefs on us to follow. He's representing the beliefs that we already have as Americans that value God, family, and country, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So
grab him by the crotch.
RNC convention was one of the best conventions I've ever seen. And I was even at the 2000 convention with George Bush. I was there all week on standby. I was working for Comcast. I was 18 years old, and I got to watch the whole thing. And it was cool being there. But watching this convention on TV and just seeing the unity that people came up and the speeches that people gave were amazing. It was the best I've ever seen. It's the most unified I've seen the Republican Party, and the Democrats are in shambles right now, with Biden being out. And now you got Kamala Harris and Barack Obama still didn't endorse her. Who knows what's going to happen there?
Watch out for the pardon. Hunter's getting ready to get his pardon.
Yeah.
Can I play this one clip from the convention? It's my favorite clip from the week.
I can't see you. I can't see you guys.
Okay.
Your camera lost connection.
Oh, I got to reset it.
Here, I'll wait till they reset. But yeah, I mean, oh, there it goes. That was quick.
That was quick.
Oh, you guys can't hear my audio.
Oh, here. Turn it up.
All right, we're going to have to skip that for
Turn
now.
it up.
Well, we can hear it.
Oh, you hear that? All right, make sure it's I just think that the people that spoke at that convention, whether they were celebrities, politicians, or whichever, crushed it.
Is this Q? Are you Q?
What's that?
Your voice modulator button. You must have hit it because you sound like Cobra Commander right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna turn it off.
I will crush G.I. Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
That's awesome.
All bow before me.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I got to hear this.
Oh, I found it. All right. How's that? Normal?
Yeah.
Yes.
You got to. You got
Really, this is my favorite right now because I was outside the Philadelphia NEA convention while that maniac was giving her convention with one of these microphones out there, megaphones. It was funny.
That's like
yeah, mixing boards are fun.
Well, this is the lady that was up on the screen saying, "We need to win all the things, things." The head of the NEA. Did you see that? So I took that video. I have to send it to you so you could play it because I don't know how to do that yet. I'm still learning this whole podcast equipment type jubilee I'm dealing with here.
There is a present button. There's a present button down in the center of your screen. You see it?
No.
Right in. Look at your screen on StreamYard.
15 screens going. Yeah. Oh no, but it's on my laptop. I have to play it for you. So I'm out there with this megaphone. I got this sign that says, it says "Protect children, not pedos," right, in public schools. So this guy comes up to me. We're taking some harassment, right? But so I'm sitting there with this megaphone and this lady's inside saying all this stuff. I didn't know what she was saying. We were just out there, just protesting the whole event. It's their National Education Association. It's on my YouTube channel. If you could bring it up, though, Eddie.
It's on your YouTube.
Yeah, it's on there. It's on there as a video. One of the first couple with a picture of that lady that's the NEA president. If you can find it, it's really funny. I spliced in my own video with me outside saying the NEA is not elected officials. They don't have a right to get involved in public education. It's really good.
What's the name of the video?
The guy you're asking all these questions, and he's answering them. Then what was it? I guess it was his wife.
There's another one there with an educator that was offended by my sign. I was like, well, listen, hey, if the shoe fits, wear it. If you're not a pedo, you're not a pedo. Then I was like, do you mind if I record this a little bit? So I'm recording questions. Got him
they're not pedos. They're minor attracted persons.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. They're not even pedos. They're minor attracted people. I started telling them that before I started interviewing them. It was really funny. Go up to Shorts.
Which video
Go to Shorts. Go to Shorts. Oh, that's the interview with the one guy. If you go to Shorts, there's one where it's the NEA lady. Looks like the picture. Maybe it's not on there.
This one?
Be. No. Scroll back up to the top then, I guess. Latest? You under latest? All right, then it must latest. Yeah. Is there one that looks like Philadelphia with the megaphone?
Yeah.
Try the
my megaphone right here. Protest the NEA.
Yeah, try that one. Oh, that was me out there at the same time as this lady's in there doing her screaming fest about must win all the things. She's a maniac. I'll find it on my YouTube and send it to you.
Yeah, I was filming that. We're out there with my kid. I throw my kids out there too.
Yeah, that's why this podcast is called The Political Badass. You know that. We don't just talk the walk. We walk it. We think it. We eat it. We breathe it. This is about saving America, saving our children.
Parental rights rule, and they are the rule of law in America.
The one was going to tell the guy. He comes up and
Teachers, take your dues elsewhere.
Tom, quick question. Oh, here it is, right here.
What? That's it?
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you.
Send it in the chat so that I can bring it up.
Well, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, we're learning.
Come on, man. I'm 52 years old. Like, you guys are probably, is anyone 52 years old?
On StreamYard,
you
on StreamYard, there's a private chat button on the right.
I know, I got to find it. You said it doesn't like when I play YouTube.
Yeah, your video will freeze.
Let me just find the video first. Man, this thing goes slow.
While he's looking for that, just to say, the other day there were several people from the LGBTQ community that were out there protesting against a bill, not against it, but against the bill being passed, a bill that would protect children from being sold for sex. And they thought they disproportionately got targeted by this bill, or that it would make the LGBTQ community unsafe to have a bill that protects children from being sold for sex. Kid you not. Kid you not. Can you hear me okay over there?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's
yeah.
no, he's on YouTube, so it's kind of you're skipping a little bit, so he's got to get off of that before it gets back to normal.
Let me see if I can't find.
But yeah, I mean it's insane. When we're out there with Annie, yeah,
I have the video showing it. Here, where is it at? Here it is. Here, I'll show you the video.
Harsher penalties proposed in this bill will disproportionately impact marginalized communities, especially members of the LGBT community, who already suffer from systematic biases within the criminal justice system, particularly when it comes to sexually based offenses. Studies have shown that LGBTQ people, particularly gay and transgendered individuals, are more likely compared to their heterosexual counterparts. For instance, LGBTQ individuals are 9 times more likely to be charged with sodomy. Measures like SB 1414 lead to higher rates of incarceration, longer sentences, and increased difficulties in finding housing and employment.
Today, EBC must strongly oppose Senate Bill 1414 for the reasons I will state. We stand against any punitive measure that perpetuates systemic injustices, and we emphasize instead the need for community.
They're so trash. Systemic injustices while ignoring the children, right? We don't like it because it makes us look bad because we get caught doing it all the time. So we don't want a bill that targets us. Yeah. And oh, what a bunch of trash. So I got the video here. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'll bring it up.
In New Jersey, they let librarians sue parents of school.
Yeah.
Kids, because they didn't like the content.
This lady that you just sent me. You just sent me this lady's video, and did you know? I know this video. Do you know that she's mimicking a speech she didn't write? She's mimicking a speech from the show The Office.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is.
They all do that.
Yeah. I remember.
They listen. None of them are original. I mean, AI's only got so much answers. Wait, this is funny though.
Stop the indoctrination and sexualization of children in public schools. NEA is not an elected office or official. They have no right to influence the curriculum, the policies in our public school.
Now, I want to point something out. Look at the guy right behind her to her right. If you're
he just starts standing up.
Yeah.
He does not want to stand up, but he has to.
This guy right here
that you don't want anywhere near children.
Doesn't that guy look like the one from the where's my stapler? Where's my red stapler from the GPS report? Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Look, that's
he looks like a dude that was caught sniffing bicycle teeth at the library. Okay.
All the things.
I'm going to chime back in a second. Watch.
Parents have the sole right to direct their child's upbringing in public schools. It's a one-size-fits-all. Leave anything controversial out of the public education system.
We won't go back. We will keep going forward because we are the NEA. We are the NEA.
Who can take her seriously?
We are the NEA. Are you out of your mind? We are the parents of the children that you're corrupting.
Parental rights, parental rights, parental rights, parental rights.
That's right.
Oh, you just saw the Planned Parenthood dude walk past.
Planned Parenthood, let me tell you about them, right? So they come up to us, they're like, what area are you guys going to be in? And we're like, right here. Why? What are you here for? Oh, I'm like, no, but what are you here for? What are you promoting? What is it that you're here for? This is an NEA convention. We're here to protest the NEA convention. By the way, we're not in for baby killing or transing our kids in public school. So what can I help you with? Just like that, she starts to call her Antifa friends, right? She tried to. I said, go ahead, you can call them all, but you better have your permit ready when the police come, because we have ours. And if you don't have one, you're going to have a really hard time explaining why you're here in the first place, antagonizing us. Okay. And Damon's got his kids with him, makes him try to explain to his little 6-year-old kid whose birthday it was the day before or a couple days before what it is that they're doing there. What does Planned Parenthood do?
Yeah,
it was pretty interesting. They didn't have an
we
answer.
we were there on July 5th, and
They're
my
racist
son is a
trash.
yeah, and my son's a 4th of July baby, so we were there July 5th, and so I brought my daughter too, and she's going to be 11 in October, so they were there, and then when Planned Parenthood came up and they were complaining about us being on the same corner that they were, I said to them, I said, well, why are you here for at an NEA convention? They're teachers, they teach children. So if you believe in not having children and aborting babies, then what's the point of you being here? I don't understand. That didn't make sense to me. So I brought my kids over to them, and I like I said, I felt bad at first because I felt like I was using them as a prop, but then I thought about it afterwards, and I really wasn't. I just went over and I brought my son and my daughter, and I said, "Excuse me," I said, "I know what Planned Parenthood is, and you probably know more than I do because you're out here wearing a T-shirt. And can you explain it to my kids what it is?" And the girl, like, her jaw dropped, like she couldn't really explain, and she's like, "Well, it's when." It's dangerous to the mom to have a baby, and the mom could die, and the baby can die, and this and that. And I said, well, what about, and I couldn't say in front of my kids, I said, what about if a guy and girl just does the thing and the girl doesn't want the baby? I said, then what? And she, again, jaw dropped, and then the other girl that was running it came over and she said, why are you harassing my staff? I said, I'm not. I said, my kids just want to ask a question. And so I said to my son, I said, hey, buddy, I said, when was your birthday? And he says, it was yesterday. It was 4th of July, fireworks, and whole talk your ear off. And he just kept talking to the girl, and she couldn't say anything. She was listening. Oh, that's great. It was your birthday. And he just goes on about the fireworks, his presents, and all the stuff that he got. And I said, well, buddy, glad mom and daddy decided to have you, or you won't be here today. I said, thank you very much. We walked away.
Listen, and there's one more video you got to pull up real quick off my YouTube real quick. It's right next to that one. It's like I think it's about 1 minute 40 seconds, but it's me interviewing this guy. I get his permission. He's the guy who came over when he didn't like my sign.
The lady says, "Fuck you."
Yeah, and so they get into it with me. I'm just interviewing this guy, talking to him on the street like I never met him before. Just having a nice conversation. And the whole point is, where do you get your news from, buddy?
Point it
you
out.
are like,
Point it out. Which one is it?
Point it out. It's gonna go under.
You gotta be wearing a blue shirt right there.
Yeah, right there. The second one down from the left.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell us your thoughts. He's a rapist. Were you there? Were you witness to something? Were you witnessing something?
I trust the women that said he's a rapist.
Really? So you trust the fact that Jean Carroll said in a post interview? Oh, who? Who else?
I think there were 27 women.
27? Oh, interesting. Where are you getting your news from? Where do you get your news?
Yes.
I got you. I have a website called ericsimkin.com. You should check it out. That's me. And it has a lot of solid news sources that you can get an unbiased filtering from. I would suggest take a look at it. ericsimkin.com. It's not self-promotion. It's just a good news source. Do I agree with what happened to it? What happened on January 6th? You mean,
like a bunch of people stormed the Capitol?
I believe that if you peacefully assemble, you have that right. There were some bad apples in there, but there's also a lot of federal agents involved too. How's Roy Epps doing? Is Roy Epps still Ray Epps? You don't know who Ray Epps is? Right. I really think that you need to get some good information from other sources, and then you get. I'm getting it from you right now, Fitz. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. All right. Are you pro sexualization and indoctrination of children in public schools? You for that? I hope not. You don't do that? You don't know what it is?
I did not know.
Do you have an anti-racism program in your curriculum? Do you have anti-racism programs in your curriculum?
Pro inclusion people, like
Inclusion? Okay, I got you. So, yes, he does. I asked 5 times. I said,
There is no consent. I'm right here. No consent. Phone shut down.
This is a single. This is a single consent state.
Fuck off.
Okay, enjoy yourself. Have a nice day, Fitz. Have a nice day, Fitz. The left is funny, aren't they? I mean, it's almost entertaining. It's sad.
I gotta,
because that guy obviously.
I'm a different kind of guy. I can't do shit like I'm the guy. Ask Maurice. Like we were in Detroit and they had all these America First Nazis. They co-opted the term. This guy named Nick Fuentes, who is dubbed as Little Hitler by Alex Jones. He had all his acolytes out across from the People's Convention when we went down there to the Trump deal and the whole Turning Point USA thing. And they all had on the same blue hat that said America First. I seen a bunch of pro-Palestinian people amidst them along the way. And I walked right into the center of them and I asked them what the fuck they were doing there. What are you doing here? Like, why are you here instead of over there? The America First hat thing's got me confused. What do you stand for? And as he told me what he stood for, I called. I said, you guys have your whole movement is trash. Every damn one of you are trash. Like, look at the trash you got staying. I do like this. And I'm pointing to the guy with the pro-Palestinian shirt on. I'm the guy that will run headlong into the middle of the Antifa crowd and knock everyone's head off. I'm not playing games with these people at all. Zero. I freaking hate every one of you. And I don't, and afraid is something I'm not. I can't stand.
It's not like they fight. It's not like they fight, by the way. It's not a big
they're
deal.
little
they cower. I mean,
got no damn meat in their diet.
Flex. I mean, you can go like this. They're like running scared. Mommy, daddy, oh my God, this guy was at a rally. He almost came at me. I mean, come on, go ask mommy and daddy how life
You notice that they all look the same, right? Right? They all look similar.
They all
got the same hair.
We used to call them losers. We used to call them losers and F-ups, okay? That's what they used to be called. Now they're called, I don't know, a whole bunch of acronyms.
Here's my theory. Here's my theory, Eric. Here's my theory. My theory is that you know how we have look at Down syndrome kids, right? We don't have to ask if a kid is Down syndrome. We can see it typically. It doesn't matter what race they are, anything. We can typically see this kid's got, issues. He's mentally or whatever, right? He's missing or half a chromosome or whatever it is. It's physically, you can see it, right? And they're some of the happiest, best people in the world.
They are the best people in the world.
They are. I mean, I guarantee you, they are
innocent, beautiful people. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
As every child is a gift from God.
In the same way that you can see what they have in terms of a mental affliction or whatever, you can see it. I think we can see the same thing on Antifa members. I think that look that you see with that long hair and that thin little body. I don't have to. You an Antifa. I can see it from here. Go eat a cheeseburger.
It doesn't take. Listen, I mean, I got Coke bottles I wear for glasses. I could take them off and see an Antifa or any of these other screw ups coming from a mile away. I could see them without seeing them.
Yeah.
You look at the Facebook.
I think there's just some physical.
You need to see them to know where they're coming from.
I
tell them all the same.
They have some physical features that are telling as to what their mental affliction is, and I do. It's the same thing with most of these people that believe on the far left certain issues, whatever it is. I just think that they have a similar look to them, and I just think there's no way in hell that could be coincidental. There just can't be. We need a study.
I think that the look they have is. I think we could. I already have the answer for you, and I'm sorry to put it. It's called the sheep look. Bah, bah, bah. Herd it along. Go ahead. Go along. Get along. Go see what it does. 11th place trophy. You did a great job. You really participated well. It's all the same stuff. It's the parents' fault. Okay. Wake up, America. Where is your kid? It's 10 o'clock at night and they're not home. Do you know where they are? Do you know what they're doing? If my kid's screwed up like these kids are screwed up, guess what? I'd cut them off. Let them go live in some of these hotels. You want to see diversity? Go live on the other side of the tracks. God bless you. But if you want to live on merit and start winning at stuff, you got to be the best at what you do, right? It's common sense. These kids just don't get it. And look at them. I mean, look, I'm heavy. Okay. I'm fat. Okay. I can lose weight. These people are ingrained this way. Okay. They're ingrained, but they're also pot-belly little trolls.
Yeah. Well, they're people that have never faced any true adversity. No, I faced adversity, but most of it was because of myself. It's not like they grew up in wartime or anything like that, but they don't respect what was given to them.
Wartime, they grew up
Yeah,
playing grenade games
what-
on computers with other.
Well, no,
scrubs.
I'm just saying about the other, the soldiers that fought and died for this country, and stormed the beaches of Normandy and all that stuff.
Well, you bring up a good point. Do you think military service should be mandatory the way they do in Israel, like they do a 2-year?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think it should.
I think for boys it should, but boys are way behind girls by the time they graduate high school. I mean, I'm going to tell you. I mean, I know for a fact. I've got two, twin daughters, right? 19 years old, way more mature than any boy their age by at least 3 years. Do I think that every person needs to enlist in the military or be forced to? I mean, I think that Israel does it right. The people that don't go to the military in Israel, which are going to be going now, were either ultra Orthodox Jews, which really, if you're part of a social contract, I guess, just because you're super religious doesn't mean you shouldn't serve your country, right? And the other faction that doesn't want to go ends up coming to America, and then they really can't go back because they're looked down upon. And it's hard to manage your passport going back if you haven't served in the military. My nephew, he actually was a lone soldier in the IDF, and he joined the Israeli military in a time of need several years ago, and he served 3 years, ended up being a tank commander. But you learn a lot of skills in any military, United States included, of course. I wish I could have joined. I wasn't able to get in Desert Shield when that kicked off. Anyways, that's my story on military service. It's pathetic.
Skin in the game is important. If I just think that if it's to serve in some capacity, regardless of what it is, whether it be serving in your community, doing an internship at the damn National Guard, something needs to happen civically around the high school time to get these kids to understand what it is they're a part of. Right?
I have a starting point for you. I've the perfect starting point. It was my dinner conversation tonight. You're not going to believe this. How coincidental. There's no coincidences, no coincidences, no conspiracy. This is not a conspiracy. At my dinner table tonight, I talked with my kid, my twin daughters that were here, my future wife Tina, and she and us. We were just.
Does she know that?
Yeah, she knows that. Actually, I just was talking to my kids about it tonight too for the first time in reality. So I'm pretty excited. 2025 is the year we got to put Trump in office because I'm looking to do so much for this man to put him in office that I get a free ticket to go to my wedding at Mar-a-Lago. So I'd love to get married there. I'm not kidding. All right. So, anyways, here's the bottom line with this. We're sitting there talking. There's no civics. There's no civics classes in schools. Let's start there. Let's talk about what are the civics? How's the government formed? Beyond going through three branches of government, really, after that, these are elective type courses, but there's no civics. Who do you call when you have a problem? Who controls the roads in your town? Who controls your school boards? How does that occur? How many are there? How often are they elected? What's it take to get elected? Do you have to get signatures from your neighbors to get on a ballot? How's ballots work? Are you part of the, Republican committee in your town, in your county, in your state? Do you know what's going on? Do you know how to get a hold of any of your people? That's why I told that guy I put ericsimkin.com together, not to be self-serving. I'm not promoting it for any reason, but all those sources are there. All the news I'm watching, all the ways to get in touch with your government, your local, your state, your federal. Bill Blaster, billblaster.com. It gives you a free app. What about Turning Point USA? Start using that app and go call your 15 closest people who live to you with a high propensity of voting and get them to help you organize your town and get rolling. Let's get this election done and in the books. And that's what we're all working on out here.
Yeah, you're right. We're working with an organization, Maurice and I, on the Patriots Prayer called voteforamerica.org. So it's vote the number 4 America.org. So if you're not registered for some reason or another, go there and register. If you know someone else who's not registered, send them the site, voteforamerica.org. We need to show up. We cannot think that Donald Trump got shot. Now he's a whole new level of popular. So we don't need to go because we automatically won. That will blow up in our faces. Everyone has to go. It's got to be too big to rig.
That would be a whole new level of stupid. We can't go there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The thing with the military,
I was saying last night,
I was in the military, and the last thing I want is anybody forced to be there, because that's going to cost lives. There are enough people in the military now that shouldn't be there. I don't want to force anybody to be there because I'm not going to be sitting on my ship getting shot at with Johnny.
Oh yeah, no.
Who doesn't want to be there and was forced.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about like that. I'm talking about like they should be exposed somehow or another to some civic duty. either just to go and see it, be a part of it in some way, not to be on the battlefield, especially
support personnel,
somehow or another. They need to be involved. They need to go wash their uniforms. They need to do something.
It's more money than they're going to get on mommy and daddy's couch, I would think, right? Unless they're all getting part of this universal income.
That's the other thing too. Is it lights a fire under their ass? It lights a fire under their ass, gets them out.
You know what? You want to know what lit a fire under my ass was when I told my father when I was 16 years old, Dad, I'm not going to college. I was the first kid in my entire family not to go to college. Guess what? I forgot more than any educator knew at that time. And I thought I did anyway. But I learned some tough lessons. But my father taught me the best lesson. He said to me, Eric, put on your best clothes. I kid you not. And I said, Dad, are you going to bury me in the clothes? What do you mean put on my best clothes? What are you talking about? He goes, no, you're getting a job today, not tomorrow, today, because you're not going to be in my house for a minute without the idea of going to college, because you're going to be working for the rest of your life, kid. Put on your best clothes. I'll drop you off at this end of the shopping center and I'll pick you up there. My father's a great man. He wasn't this tough on me. Okay. But he meant what he said and he said what he meant. And he got me that first job and I walked in the Rite Aid, third door in the thing, got the job, came home, and I had a job. And that's what I've been doing ever since. But I'm really good at it. And I've had some big successes and failures, but mostly in part to the fact that I was not going to sit home in my mother's home without a job or an education.
I worked at Rite Aid when I was younger.
I remember my manager, his name was Gil Bacon was my manager's name. I'll never forget it. But the coincidence is my sister's, who's a PharmD now, and I got an MBA. She worked for the same Rite Aid too before she was a pharmacist. It's kind of funny. So I guess it's a family thing. Who knows? But that was my first job, and that's what it was for me. And guess what? If it wasn't a job, it might have been the military for me. I mean, I would have had no problem going. In hindsight, I really wouldn't. I wanted to go, but I had some physical issues going on. I couldn't get in.
Why do you think the military is having a problem recruiting right now, guys?
No one's going and getting recruited to sit with a bunch of woke people for the exact reason our friend just said. Because you're sitting there and you're sitting there in some high stakes situations. You need people that are on the team, not people that don't know which team they're playing for. Right.
Yeah, well, the thing is, too, you don't have a lot of people that have love for this country like they used to. They complain about the country. Oh, this is the worst country in the world, and we need to change. We need to do this. Then why is everyone from other countries coming here? Like, what's so great about it to make all the illegal immigration? But the ones that grew up here,
grasp. I think another people don't grasp is the military. There's one purpose for the military: it's to kill the enemy. You're not there to hand out lollipops or shake hands or hug. You are there to kill the enemy of this country. No matter what you do in the military, it is geared to kill the enemy. If you're cooking food, you're cooking food for troops that are going to go out and kill the enemy. If you're a mechanic, you're fixing vehicles that are going to be used to go out and kill the enemy. And people don't want to hear that. The military is not there to handhold anyone. They are there to kill. And that's a hard concept for some people to understand. That when you send the military to a foreign country, we're not going there to build you shopping malls or take you grocery shopping. We're there to put lead in you. We're there for a purpose and a reason. And people have gotten away from that. They think like police officers, the military are there for social workers. We're there to talk to you and try to help you through your problems. It's not what we're there for. That's not why I was in the military. I wasn't there to hold your hand. I was there to kill you, just like they're there to kill us. It's that, and people don't want to hear that because they're so woke. That's offensive. That's horrible to say. It's the truth. And I think that's the big reason.
Defend me, they would say.
I would really like to just take one moment and thank you very much, most sincerely, from my family to your family for your service for our country.
Well, I appreciate it, but you don't have to do it because I wanted to. I did. I couldn't. I sucked at school. I hated working. And I wanted to get paid to do as little as I possibly could. And I figured the U.S. Navy was the best way to go. Boy, was I wrong. I've never worked harder in my life, but it was worth it. And like I said, that's the problem.
You made a man out of you, right? Listen, my nephew went to the
did.
Don't
get me
He
wrong.
went as a boy, came back as a man.
And I loved the Navy enough. I gave him my daughter. I gave him my daughter, and I'm going to give him my son. He wants to be a CB. I'm willing to give him my family because I believe that much in this country, what the military does, that I give him my family.
I would just like to see him start taking better care of our veterans. That's what it's so sad to see the epidemic. And you know what's also sad? Here's a statistic for you guys, and you'll hear it more at Red Pill Palooza and Eagle, Idaho, coming up on August 17th. We're going to have some vets there speaking as well. but I didn't know this statistic. Did you know only 10% of the enlisted, veterans, rather, not enlisted at the time, but veterans vote? 10%?
Yeah.
10. You went and fought, killed for this country, and you get back here and you're so jaded when you get back here that you no longer even want to participate in the process. That needs to be fixed.
Well, I think they said like 45% of all the homeless people are vets. Some astronomical number like that. That's why they don't vote.
That's pathetic. We have illegals in this country.
Well, before we get out of here,
I can't believe that we have illegals in this country staying in $600 night hotels. We have veterans on the streets. It's the most preposterous, disgusting thing that I can even imagine saying.
I mean, I used to tell my friends, hey, look, you got veterans laying on the street in a puddle of blood while people will step over them. They go shake the illegal immigrant's hand who's getting the free room. I said, it's messed up.
Exactly. So how do you think, I'm going to ask this last question and we're going to get out of here, guys, but I wanted to ask Eric, because we've talked about this, Seth. I want to ask Eric and Damon how Donald Trump says he's going to embark on the biggest mass deportation in history for 30 million plus illegal immigrants. How does he do it? How does it work? What does that plan look like? What does the country look like as he's doing it? And we have National Guard and military on all of our streets in all of our cities. What does it look like?
Prioritize it starting with people that you can properly vet as quickly as possible within a 8-hour time frame or sometime in which you're going to detain them. You put them in whatever you're going to put them in to detain them. If you got to go door by door across the country, then the people that you can possibly identify quickly, easily, whether it's your DNA or ID or whichever case may be. If you don't have any of those things, you're out automatically. So you round that out. Then you've got to start filtering. It's got to be a filter process that gets to the worst, and the worst are going to be the least easy to document or vet. You get rid of those people first. The next people you get are people that you can verify are an issue. Obviously, they're really the first ones. But even the ones that you can't verify, you're gone. Come back to us. You got, 10 days before you're fully deported, put them on, it's going to be an island situation or wherever it's going to be. Obviously,
So
we got
we
a
have
whole
all
bunch
these
of
FEMA
architecture and capabilities that are coming out of Israel right now. With the floating dock that didn't work out there, maybe we can use that. Who knows? Yeah. Let's start repurposing some of the stuff. Maybe we got some stuff we can use with the wall materials.
We have a bunch of FEMA camps in the United States, bunches of them, big old prison camps that I don't think we can get around to using because we can't just lock them up because our prisons won't hold them. So that's what I'm saying. This is going to be a military.
Bill Gates has a bunch of land. Maybe we can borrow some of Bill Gates's land. Let's use some of Bill Gates's land. You can stop using it for soy boy coffee creamers.
It's the same way what they came in. I mean, we're flying people from other countries here, 30,000 a month, I believe. So I just don't lock them up. Just round them up, put them on a plane, and there you go. I mean, we'll have to be a holding facility for a certain amount of time to get their belongings, whatever it might be. But I don't think they're going to deport 30 million people.
That's what he's saying.
The main thing is, what's that?
That's what.
Yeah,
Trump
I don't think it's going to be possible. People that have been here in the country for 10 to 20 years that are illegal. I'm looking at it as what he's saying is he's going to deport all the people that came in over the past 3.5 years under Biden. But and then anyone else gets caught up in
we had 22 million before Biden even took office.
So newest to oldest, vetting versus non-vettable, right? All these things, there's got to be somebody. There's a guy, they figure this out. And I said earlier, I meant it kind of though. They figured this out with calculus. Me and you sitting here and talking about it. They have calculus that figures all these political events out. And I'm sure they already have it. Next time we'll talk about Dr. Wayman DeMosquito. He was a mathematician that could predict all sorts of outcomes and has for all sorts of political entities and world leaders, including ours up to almost the present day. They figure this out with math. They've got this figured out with the Bilderberger and all these other things. So they know what's got to be done. Okay, it's a matter of how and when it's going to start and who's going to effectuate it. It probably be the same type of people as like a Halliburton, believe it or not. You'll see what's coming.
But it's going to be a mess, though. It really is. It's going to be a mess.
Here's how I say that they're going to do it and how they should do it. I think that we should create a task force in each city or each state It has to be a military operation. We have to use the FEMA camps or the family centers that we dubbed FEMA camps across the United States. We have to house those people there, figure out who they are, and orderly send them back to the country of their origin. We cannot continue to, prior to Joe, before Joe, whatever. I think we start with the prisons. Whoever's illegal in prison committed a crime, we can immediately clear the prisons out and send them back to wherever they're from because we already have them. You just automatically.
You guys have it on that? Yes. Eyes or
But
nays?
it is going to be a mess. You're going to have the far left woke protesting and crying about it.
It's going to be the biggest threat of a civil war that we've ever had. It's going to be the biggest threat of a
and all this
civil
is
war.
propagated by one thing. And it's all propagated by one thing, and you could agree or not, but I know it's true. Climate change. That's what drives all of this. Is climate change. It's where the money comes from. It's okay. Money, NGOs, movement of migrants from anywhere in the world to any of the world is the basis of diversity, equity, and inclusion, right down to public schools, world languages, STEAM instead of STEM, adding in the arts to STEM, pushing that for women to reach diversity goals. You can't do it with American citizens, American children. They're not smart enough anymore. They've already degraded us down to peanuts and peons and beyond. So where the dots are connected with climate is where all the money is sourced from. Look at how much money went into these wind farms offshore in New Jersey, billions and billions and billions of dollars. That money comes from places. It's coming from investors. It's coming from our 401ks, where all of our money's sitting in BlackRock and similar. And that's where the dots are connected. I can connect them for you offline and have them ready for next time too.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that because the climate eco-terrorist types. Finally, I'm glad to see that the guy who headed up those organizations to teach and grow new climate terrorists to sit in the middle of the street and block traffic, that they finally locked his ass up and gave him a nice hefty.
You think the wheels falling off the airplanes have anything to do with Boeing? They do not. That's eco-terrorism in of itself, because people are going to eventually be fearful of flying. I'm not looking to get onto a plane anytime soon, are you? And it has nothing to do with Boeing. It has to do with air travel. It has to do with communications. It has to do with line cities. I mean, go look at the United Arab Emirates and how they're projecting people are going to live in line cities. It's coming. It's coming here. This is what true globalism is. It's coming to a head. And it's coming to a town near you, and it's coming to a town near me because it already came to me with illegal problems.
Next week we're going to continue that conversation with Hawaii, Maui.
Yeah, I'm curious about that one.
The whole I don't want to get into it right now. Well, we'll get to it next week. I got a bunch.
Yeah, that's a long conversation.
Yeah, and it's a wild one, but
I think I want to have a beer with you, man. You need to get together and have a couple beers.
One of the things that surprised me the most about that, just this one, is the guy that was in charge here during October 1st, the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history, on October 1 in Las Vegas, was the same guy in charge in Maui when that happened. That's a tidbit for you. But guys, listen.
I got close ties to Vegas. I told you, Tina. She was in Vegas 24 years. First woman with blonde hair was driving a 34-foot Hummer stretch limousine. I can promise you that. She's pretty. Yeah, a lot of stuff going out there. She was. Yeah, but I remember that. I remember that shooting. That was insane.
Yeah, I heard it from where I lived at the time. I heard the bangs. It was wild. Then we just, the cops and all that just occurred. That was nuts. And we can talk about the October 1 shooting too. I have friends that were there. But guys, listen, thank you guys for hanging out. We appreciate it. Sunday night. We wanted to do something different. We're going to do this every week, and we may be talking about whatever else. It's just an open panel. We appreciate the audience participation. You guys came in. Woody, I saw you, brother. Thank you for joining in. And Patricia Ray, Hopeful, all you guys, really appreciate you hanging out with us. And as usual, the silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground. We will see you next time on the Patriots Prayer. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.